I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite
podcast
on the Citadel.
Hey! We're recording
So
the
dumb.
podcast! Shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is
Morning somewhere!
for August 27th, 2024. My name is Birdie Burns, sitting right over there. She's my own personal femshep. It's Ashley. Say hi to Ashley, everybody.
Better hope I'm not doing a renegade run.
Why do they call it as femshep? Why isn't it just shepherd?
I mean, I guess, it is. It's just different. It's femshep.
It's femshep. Do you think the male is the default?
No, well, I've never played a male shep run. I've only ever played a femshep run. I wonder how different, our experience with Mass Effect is as a result.
Why would it be different? What would be different about it?
I don't know, just your
female perspective?
Romance options, or your interactions with characters might just feel a little bit different.
Why would the romance options be different? They're not different. You can romance anybody in that game.
Really?
Yeah. It was fairly progressive for the time.
Oh, I always assumed that the NPCs had their own preferences, if you know what I mean.
The NPCs, male player characters. So male Shep, M-Shep, could romance Garrus, for instance. Right? Yeah.
Look, and really, who didn't make that choice?
Who didn't make that? I didn't understand the fascination with Garrus in particular.
Everyone's favorite space bug.
They said he looks like he's supposed to be a bird. Did you know that?
Bird? Oh, I was associated more like reptilian.
He's a bird person. Me too. I thought of him more as being reptilian, but I think he's supposed to be more bird-like. Like what are they called? They're descendant from birds. Anyway, we're deep into Mass
Storks.
Effect lore. Storks? JD would love this. JD knew more about Mass Effect and more about Halo than me when he was a teenager. I couldn't believe how much he knew about that lore.
And Destiny.
Look at us. We talked about a gender fluid, polyamorous lifestyle, and we got out of that pretty cleanly, actually. I feel like we navigated that pretty well.
This is because this is the future.
All right, well, you want to follow up on something we talked about yesterday?
Yes, let's do.
Yesterday, at the end of the podcast, we had a little game where we tried to predict how would the Boeing stock do yesterday after they had that little bit of buffer from the news about SpaceX is now going to go up and get the astronauts, Butch and Sunny, down. You guys all listened to it yesterday. You know what I'm talking about. So after that, I did go and look at the futures, and it was down. It was coming in down.
Yeah, so we made very different predictions. I was a tad bold with my prediction. It started out at, what was it? What did it start out at?
I think you had them going through something like a 50-point drop from 175 down to 125.
Look, I just think that it's the kind of thing that, being able to get your astronauts to space but not get them back, I feel like that's the kind of thing that, generally speaking, the market might penalize you for.
Well, I think that's a good lesson to learn, because I predicted 168, which would have been about a 7-point drop. And I did say at the time, it could even go up, because people could be saying, this could be rock bottom for them, that they would be called out, that the mission would be very publicly handed over to their rival. That's a bad thing. Long story short, they went from about 175 down to about 173. They did get down. It did dip down during the trading early on, got down to 171, and then came back up to 173. So the overall
that'll
drop,
teach them.
Yeah, about a 1.5. They lost about 0.85% yesterday.
That's really not much. So maybe
it does show the good
people,
strategy of the little buffer, if that was the case.
It worked, yeah. And maybe people are, as you said, deciding this is rock bottom. Let's be there for the meteoric redemption arc.
And it just goes to show, sometimes you can feel I've got the news and I've got the information, so I can make a good investment decision based on it. That's what the folly of day traders, I think. A lot of times with the stock market, it's a little bit like a crystal ball wrapped in about 5 layers of shit, essentially.
And also a lot of panic. I feel like the market's always panicking about things.
A lot of times the stock market it's looking forward. And a lot of times you can be frustrated by when you hear this company had this incredible quarter. They posted record profits. Everything's great. And then their stock went down. And it's because that news has already been built into the price of the stock. And here it is. Here's the news. So what's the future of this stock at this point? It doesn't really reflect the company where it is at this moment. It's a reflection of where people think it's going to go. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. So we had, there was expectations for this news, et cetera. The price went up in anticipation of these numbers. It's here now. So the sort of the air's out of that balloon and I can let it go now.
What's your favorite stock market saying?
Buy the rumors, sell the news.
There you
No,
go.
hold. Buy high, sell low. No, wait, that's the wrong one.
But yeah, so while we're talking about SpaceX, there's a really interesting mission going on right now, which was just, Ashley, they had a delay of the best named mission I've ever heard that's going up into space. Do you know the name of this one?
I do, because it's such a great name. This is Polaris Dawn.
That's awesome.
That's a great name. That's
It sounds like a James Bond movie.
yeah, I was thinking straight out of Mass Effect, but yeah.
It does. One of the ships in Mass Effect or Halo. They're on board the Polaris Dawn. But this mission is going to send 4 astronauts up. It's a commercial space flight. It's making a lot of headlines because it's going to be the first commercial spacewalk. I guess the best way to say that is a private spacewalk. It's not a spacewalk that's been done by a space agency like NASA.
Right. So this is SpaceX testing their spacewalking technology. Apparently, they spent about 2.5 years is all they've spent designing these suits. So they're very efficient with the design process. And now they're going to make sure they actually hold up in the vacuum of space. So that should be fun.
I like the name of that too, spacewalk. There's no walking involved, but it's, what else would you call it? It's just a dude out in space by himself.
What are you
know?
doing after dinner? I think I would take myself for a little spacewalk and digest.
Can you imagine? It must be nice. You get outside of the craft, especially. They don't do walks. Do they do walks outside of the ISS? I guess they would have to go outside to repair stuff, or is that only in movies where they're like?
No, I would assume that they have the ability to go out there. Don't they have the little backpacks with the rockets on them?
I think it's all just tethers. I don't know if they do the jetpack when they go out there. I don't know.
I would want a jetpack if I went out
I
there.
don't know if they're freeballing it out there by the ISS.
I want tethers and a jetpack.
Here's what I know just from sci-fi movies about a spacewalk. You have a tether, and you clip it on.
Yeah, and then you got magnetic boots or something.
And you have the ladder
clonk.
handholds, and then something happens where you have to go, oh no, you're loose. And
Oh
the
no,
tether
a
broke,
debris storm.
and you've got to catch a handhold and you missed that one. Now here's another one. Oh, you bumped off that one. You've only got one shot left, Ashley. Are you going to grab it or not?
You're going to grab it.
Of course you are. You're an astronaut.
If you're a main character.
That's everything we know about spacewalks. So that's exactly what's going to be happening with this space mission with SpaceX.
It's going to be very dramatic.
They'll be doing exactly that entire time. This actually has a really interesting set of missions that they've got, like little experiments they're going to be running. The first thing is that they're going to be going out in a further orbit than any other flight mission ever before. They're going to beat the previous record by about
20 miles, I think, is what it is.
Yeah, by about 20 miles. And what I find interesting about it is that they're going out into the Van Allen belts, which is the radiation belts that once you get further away from the Earth, that's where these Van Allen belts are. And I hate to call myself out here, Ashley.
But do it. I want to hear this.
When I was a younger man, I didn't really indulge in conspiracy theories, but one that I didn't go all in, but I went deeper in than I like to admit, was the theory that we didn't really land on the moon.
You dipped a toe into the moon conspiracy.
There were probably like documentaries at the time, and I saw them in the documentaries. You know, they get presented with that completely one-sided view, and you're like, this all makes sense.
You're like, they know something.
They know, right? They know something. And at the time, one of the beliefs of the conspiracy theorists was that the Van Allen belts would have killed all the Apollo astronauts because of the lack of shielding on the Apollo spacecraft once they passed through them. So it's interesting to me that we're going out into the Van Allen belts. It's nice to be able to take some of those things off the table, although I'm sure there's always going to be people saying it was faked or whatever, you know. Also, it's interesting to me because all the photos of this are 4 people going up in a private spacecraft and going up into radiation belts. That's literally the origin story of the Fantastic Four.
So we're gonna get back a couple of superheroes.
Yeah, they went through. They got hit by cosmic rays, I think. Which cosmic rays pass through literally everything. But
I'm pretty sure they pass through that crack in the shutters and wang right into your eye every single day.
They don't need a crack. They just come straight. They pass through the Earth. So, but it sounds cool to say cosmic rays. So yeah, so these guys come back and they have superpowers. We're gonna know why.
All right, well that could be very useful though, because there's a lot to be done. So we'll lean on them heavily when they get back.
And they can romance whoever they want at any point in time.
Literally everyone will change preferences for them. That's the superpower.
2024.
They're herosexual.
Mass Effect ran so you could spacewalk.
Oh man.
Yeah, but they delayed their mission by 1 day. Do you want to know why they delayed their mission, Ashley?
Why? Weather?
Helium leak. That's why they're delayed. But they only delayed for 24 hours. So
That helium's such a rascal.
I know, it's causing so many problems. For
So
so
this
many
is
people.
this is meant to be what? It's a shorter mission. I want to say it's like a 4-day mission, unless it becomes a 4-month mission. That
Yeah.
seems to be the latest trend with helium troubles.
Well, one of the people going up is a tech billionaire. So he might be going up to avoid being arrested by the French government. That just could be why he's going up. They can't get hold of him.
Yeah. Is this the Telegram guy?
Yeah, the Telegram guy got arrested. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is I don't know a lot about Telegram. What I know about it is it's kind of like WhatsApp, right? That's my main takeaway is that it's an encrypted messaging platform like WhatsApp where messages are encrypted end to end. And this guy who owns it, he's a Russian oligarch, but had to flee Russia.
He's Russian born. And he started a social media platform called, I think, VK in Russia. He was known, in all the articles, they said he was known as the Mark Zuckerberg of Russia. I think he's probably the person telling people that at parties.
Like, yeah, I'm basically that
but
guy.
this thing was huge, and it was huge in Russia, and there were some protests, and the Russian government said they wanted decryption keys in order to be able to access private messages on the platform. He said no, stuck to his guns, sold all of his shares in the company, and then moved out of Russia, left Russia. Because at the time he said, I didn't want to be bossed around. By the way, this guy says himself, he says he has 100 biological children.
That's a lot of kids.
Through sperm donation. Yeah.
Is that a brag? I can't tell.
It's actually, that's the origin story for 101 Dalmatians.
These billionaires and their origin stories.
They got to stop watching movies and reading comic books.
They got to stay away from the cosmic rays.
So he's currently he's currently a citizen of France, but lives in Dubai. Ended up in France. Who said, "Well, next time you're here, we're going to arrest you." Surprise Pikachu! They arrested the guy when he ended up in France. Now he could face 30 years.
Now I heard about this largely because the French government, Macron, came out and said. This was not a government decision. This was purely a judicial decision. And I believe the reason that he is being arrested is because they are accusing him of not properly moderating the platform to avoid, to mitigate trafficking, money laundering, and other criminal activities that take place on this platform.
We should probably say his name at some point, by the way. Pavel Durov is the name of this guy. Yeah.
And so they're arresting him sort of as being complicit in these crimes because he didn't take action to mitigate or moderate criminal activity on his platform.
Can I just say personally, I'm glad to see something like this finally happening because there's so much that takes place online, and it seems like either an individual person is accountable or like some small group is accountable, and these big brands are never held accountable. Like, for instance, if there's like a Twitch streamer who does something weird or terrible and it's in DMs, everyone goes after the Twitch streamer and people around him. Nobody seems to go after Twitch or Snapchat or these things where all these things are taking place. That's where these are the platforms where these communications are actually taking place. So I'm actually relieved to see they're finally going after one of these platforms.
Yeah, and it is interesting to see, too, because this is an individual, right, who has this company, which, by the way, it's Telegram, I had no idea, is valued at like $30 billion.
I'm telling you, man,
it's
if
insane.
You want to make $1 billion online, just wait 4 or 5 years and make a new messaging client.
Yeah.
Messaging clients, they just, every couple of years, there's a new one that's worth tens of billions of dollars. I mean, WhatsApp sold to Facebook for what? 19 billion?
Well, and that was eye-watering at the time. That was like an unheard of amount of money. Now I feel like WhatsApp would go for way, way more. But at the time that it sold, it was an incredible acquisition.
Do you remember how much ICQ sold to AOL for?
What did they sell for?
Didn't you? What was your claim to fame on ICQ?
Oh, I had a 6-digit number. I had a 6-digit ICQ number. Not anymore now that ICQ's actually shut down. But
I think mine was 12 digits on mine. That was before there was like tons of bots online.
Yeah, that was back in the day though when we memorized numbers. Like, did you know you knew what, like 5 or 6 phone numbers, right? Just like you could just rattle them off.
Oh,
you
I can
knew your
remember
best
those
friend's phone number.
to
I
this
barely
day.
know your number.
Yeah, it's true.
You go in my phone and I never have to think about your number again. But back in the day, like having a good number was a very important thing, and I had a 6-digit number.
It's crazy.
So what did they sell to AOL for?
Any guesses?
$1 billion.
They $190 million, and that was huge at the time. This is in the 90s. I remember thinking at the time, that's it. Well, the messaging thing is done. You know, the personal communication.
It's all rolled up now.
Nope. Every couple of years, there's a new one, and they keep going up and up in value. So you out there listening, go make a messaging client in 4 years and just pay me like a 2% commission, and I'll be happy. take my grand idea.
You can use it to fund your trip to space to become Mr. Fantastic.
I mean, probably one of the best illustrations of ideas are worthless and execution is where everything matters, because just make a messaging client. All these things do the exact same goddamn thing, but they get a user base and they have excellent execution for getting users on board. I think Telegram has something like 900 million active users per month.
That's a lot.
That's an incredible amount of people in a world with 8 billion people, where, according to a recent study, 3 billion people on the internet or on the earth have never used the internet. 3 billion people.
3 billion people have never used the internet.
Have never used it.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, I guess it makes sense when you actually like break it down and think about it, but that's still really weird to think about.
But then you think, too, that only 5 billion people who have ever used the internet at some point in their life, and Telegram has 900 million of those 5 billion every single month on their platform.
Well, I
That's
also
huge.
wonder how many of them is it every single month, or is that how many people have it downloaded, right? Because I have it downloaded. I can't say I've ever used it.
Wow, way to incriminate yourself there, Ashley.
Look,
an ongoing criminal investigation.
I don't have to worry about it. This guy is going to be taking the fall for me.
Yeah, and he's being now indicted for money laundering is some of the thing, being complicit with money laundering, trafficking.
Yeah. So they've got a number of things that they threw at him, and I guess we'll see what sticks. But it is interesting to see an individual being held accountable for the platform, because we don't see that very often.
And Facebook buying WhatsApp was seen at the time as being a very defensive move and a good one, and it really has paid off for them massively. I don't even know how many people use WhatsApp every single month. But what do you think is the best ever acquisition in terms of what it turned into? Even if it was a lot of money at the time.
I think YouTube was probably one of them.
YouTube is definitely at the top of my list. They sold for like $1.5 billion. YouTube. What do you think YouTube is worth today by itself?
Oh, 100 billion?
Do you know YouTube has a weird distinction? It is the second largest search engine in the world. YouTube.
YouTube. You know what, though? That kind of makes sense. There are a lot of times when I'm looking for something and I already know that I want a video of this thing. Like, how do I process honey without a spinner? I want a video to show me how to do that, right? The just like web articles are not going to do it. So I go straight to YouTube and I search there.
Oh, yeah. I have your search history right here because we have a shared account. How to romance Garrus? Is Garrus a bird person? Yeah, so it's crazy. And I remember, I still remember this day. I've told this story 1,000 times, but I have to bring it up every time when they made that announcement that they sold to Google, Chad and Steve, the guys behind YouTube. And it looks like, I know they're not, but it looks like they're in front of a TGI Fridays. And there's like no rehearsal or anything. They're cracking up the entire time. And it was just fucking ridiculous. Just ridiculous. And they were getting sued by Paramount. Everybody was suing YouTube at the time.
For people uploading like movies and stuff to YouTube?
Yeah. It's like, it goes back to the discussion about the big platforms, right? It's like you hear all these lawsuits, or somebody, like, you would hear about a person putting up a record on Napster, right? And then that person would get $130,000 fine per track that they put up.
Yeah, the MPAA getting people's IP addresses from their ISP to hunt them down. I remember all that.
But nobody, YouTube gets sued, but then they end up getting bought by Google for $1.5 billion, you know? And
all worked out for them.
Napster's probably a bad example because they're one of the few platforms that actually went away. Like, something was done about it. So
yeah, didn't they go legit?
Yeah, there's someone just came up with Napster recently, the resurrection of Napster and what they're doing. They actually started charting for being a service that people use on a regular basis. Maybe it's like a Gen Z's going all hipsterish and going back to Napster.
Soon they're going to rediscover shoulder pads.
or millennials are getting You know who is the fashion icon of Gen Z, I found out?
Who?
Adam Sandler. They're calling him the Gen Z fashion icon because he wears nothing but hoodies and baggy shorts. You know, he basically looks like he just ran through a Goodwill and ran through one of the clothing racks. And landed on him. That's what he wore that day.
He looks like he was born as a dad. Yeah.
And they said that to him in this interview. It's like he's just like a super humble guy. He's like, I don't say that. Nobody says that. He goes, that's really nice of you, but no, that's not me. That's not
Too
me.
much pressure to be the Gen Z fashion icon. Is that where the like pulled up socks are coming from?
Oh, I have no idea. I've been seeing all these Instagram reels about millennials, older millennials now tucking or pulling their socks up instead of tucking them down. That's not going to stand the test of time. Nobody wants to see those big ass socks.
No, there's a lot of like early aughts fashion trends coming back, and I'm like, don't worry about it. That one's going to be gone again in no time. It went away for a reason.
Like we needed the sock to go up the ankle previously, all the way up the calf in order to keep the sock up. Sock technology has progressed. We're only trying to protect the foot. That's all we're trying to do. Unless you're wearing gigantic high tops, there's no reason to wear a long sock. Get the fuck out of here.
I don't know if there's a lot of practicality reasons for arguing in favor of fashion.
What's the dumbest thing you ever did fashion-wise in your life?
I cut holes in a shirt.
That's it? Really? That's it? Just cut holes in a shirt? Do you ever do the thing where you bleach it with your hands? You put like raw bleach on your hand and then put handprints on a black shirt?
No, I didn't. But I did used to spray like lemon juice in my hair. I'm sure that was great for it. To get those natural highlights. It's called Touch of Sun.
And then tan with baby oil? Yes. Like that kind of thing?
I'm just basting myself.
Were you old enough to partake in the rolled up jeans?
I don't think
that never came back. That never came back.
No, but I was of an age to participate in the legs on these jeans are wider than I am.
Yes?
Yes.
You're heading back that direction. You know that, right?
I do know that. And you know what? I'm not against it.
Why?
I'm very comfortable.
Just wear a dress instead of wearing two dresses on each leg. What's wrong? What's going on over there? Yeah, we used to in like the mid late 80s, we would you would fold over your jeans and then roll them up like Guess jeans.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of that. Usually, though, it involves specific types of like footwear, like heavy boots that you want to show off, or if you're on a bike and you need to roll it up to keep the leg of your trousers out of the gear.
Everything comes back though eventually. It all makes its way back around at some point.
Including the astronauts.
If they're lucky. They only 9 months. They come back faster than just about any fashion trend. That'll be Boeing's next press release. They'll say, "Hey, they came back before rolled up Guess jeans came back."
Yeah, so. You know who else comes back, Bernie?
Who's that?
Danny Jansen.
Oh, you're going to talk about a sports story. Go ahead.
I am. You ready for this?
I love this.
You told me about this guy, so I've had an eye out for it. And this is the guy who's managed to play for two Major League Baseball teams in one game. And this is the weird.
It's the Blue Jays and the Red Sox. I don't know if I'd call them Major League.
So this is there was a game, and
June 26th.
It was that long ago.
Long ago. That's like 2 months. That's literally 2 months ago.
Yeah, but they just finished the game. So this is a game. It started in June, and then they stopped the game.
They played a couple innings
for weather, right? Like it started raining, and they thought, "Oh no, we can't possibly play with inclement weather." Stopped the game, and I didn't know. Oh my God, 2 months.
So they stopped playing with Major League Baseball. They will stop a game and then start it again later. Because it's all just statistics. They don't want to start over because then they have these weird statistics that then wouldn't exist. Basically, Ashley, baseball, you got to think of baseball. It's like a spreadsheet with hot dogs. That is Major League Baseball. That's what it is.
But so they've come back. They've played the second half of this game, right?
Because in like 2 months later, we're going to be playing again anyway because there's so many games in the sport. So yeah,
the 2 months though explains a lot because a player, Danny Jansen, he was playing for the Blue Jays.
Right, he had an at bat
when they were playing in June.
Mm-hmm.
Came back, he got traded to the Red Sox and finished this game playing for the Red Sox.
2 months later, on August 26th, he was then playing for the Red Sox, and they put him in the game. He's a catcher. They put him in. So in one Major League Baseball game, he played for both teams. First time in history.
I like to think they had to like make him somehow catch his own ball.
What is this, Mass Effect? So congratulations to Danny Jansen. It's not often that you can have a first in baseball, but he managed to pull it off. And I don't follow either the Blue Jays or the Red Sox because they both suck. But Danny Jansen, I don't know if he's the only way I have to gauge whether or not he's a premier player is they did trade him for 3 minor league players. That was the trade that they made between the Blue Jays and the Red Sox.
Yeah, I really don't know what that means in baseball trade terms.
But no matter what happens at this point in time, he's got a claim to fame for the rest of his life. He can say, I'm the baseball player who played for both teams in one game.
It's incredible. It really is.
It's pretty funny, man, the way that works out. It really is. Those, like I said, those firsts in baseball are rare at this point. So you gotta grab them when you can.
Yeah, and it can be a weird one, and it's still going to be great. Like, there's a couple of other weird claim to fames going on. One of those being, very quickly, Deadpool Wolverine back at the top of the box office.
Yes, it was ousted very briefly by Alien Romulus 1 week, and now it's back. It did $18 million in a kind of measly box office this weekend. The sad story, though, is The Crow opened at number 8 with $4.5 million. And I was hoping that would do a little bit better.
Be surprised by that. I'm not too surprised. When the first Crow came out, I love that movie. It was that sort of like that perfectly like edgy emo time for movies and for my emotions. And so I loved The Crow. I thought it was really great. I like Bill Skarsgård, who is in this one, played Pennywise in the new It. But
I just saw, by the way,
no interest in seeing it.
JD had me watch the second part of Dune last night because he said he just loved it. And I thought he was the main villain in the second movie.
Oh, that's
nephew.
Elvis.
Yeah,
right?
it's Elvis.
That's Elvis.
Austin Butler.
That's his name. Yes.
Yeah, but I thought at first when they first showed him, he's in a lot of like makeup on his brow. But when I saw his eyes, I thought it was the Skarsgård guy, but it was Austin Butler. Great movie. Dune 2. Or Dune Part 2, I should say. Interesting thing here, though, a trend I've noticed is movies that come out that have like kind of like Dark Horse could do well, Borderlands, and now The Crow. The movie that keeps coming in right above them is the 15th anniversary re-release of Coraline, the stop-motion...
Coraline.
Coraline, the stop-motion Tim Burton movie. And it came in just above The Crow with $5 million.
That's so weird to me. Don't get me wrong. I love
Coraline out here crushing
as a
dreams.
movie. I know.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just because it's like another movie that parents can take their kids to if they've already seen probably Inside Out, Despicable Me, and then this is like the new thing. Because it's, only a couple of kids' movies that come out throughout the summer, right?
Yeah. And the same thing happened to Borderlands as well. You will not be able to do this next week, though, because we just got news, Ashley. Coraline was traded to the Red Sox.
So it's going to be finishing its theatrical run.
So watch out, Blue Jays.
Under a different team.
Coming for you next.
All right, well, we should probably wrap this up because I need to get to the hospital.
No, don't say hospital.
I know. No, I
Ashley cut her finger today, and we've been watching it very carefully today. So this may be a highly unedited version of the podcast today. I like that I flubbed when I said unedited. I can't even go back and edit that now. So I got to get Ashley to the doctor right after.
Yeah,
this.
I just need to find out if I need stitches or not. It's,
no big.
It's a minor inconvenience these days.
All right, well, who do we have to thank for today's podcast?
Today, I would like to thank Alex, Sylvia, and Patrick. Thank you both for sponsoring this episode of our show at patreon.com/morningsomewhere.
All right, Alex and Patrick, thank you for funding our healthcare fund today. We really appreciate that. All right, well, that does it for us today, August 27th, 2024. We will be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you will be here as well.
Bye, everybody.